Matthew Kingsland. I am going to host this particular session with you all today. And today we've got three other engineers on the line who are going to help us talk about our careers and kind of give you a feel for what we all did after secondary school, where we went, what we've been up to, and and what we've been doing. So you've just been hearing about scientists, and as engineers we work quite heavily with scientists, but the main distinction is, as engineers we build equipment that scientists then go out and use. So you might have heard the scientists just talking about all the research they've been doing with various technologies. As engineers, a lot of our job is about developing those technologies for the scientists, very much in conjunction. We work very closely with them. And you hopefully get a flavor of that throughout this session. So I'm going to kick off with kind of my career since leaving secondary school. So hopefully we can get my presentation up on the screen. Perfect. There we go. I went to a secondary school in Southampton, UK, a place called Wilden School. It was very much an arts and crafts school, but that didn't particularly interest me. I'm very much more hands-on engineering. I want to build things. So when I got around to choosing my particular GCSEs that I was doing, I very much went for the design technology, the electronics, if it's available, and those sorts of lessons. I still had to do the classic French or foreign language. They are useful, even if you don't appreciate them now, because there are engineers in those countries as well that you might have to chat to. After that, I went on to sixth form college, and I went to a place called Barton Peveril, again near Southampton. And I got my first jobs as well. So I was a cashier at Sainsbury's. It helps bring in the money. And then I moved on to Halfords, where I did a very small stint as engineering in the sense of mechanicking and maintaining bicycles. And it's all about getting that hands-on, doing those little things that just move you towards where you want to go and what you want to do. And I didn't do particularly well at college, I have to admit. I'm not an academic in the slightest. As an engineer, I'm very hands-on. I don't do well at maths. I want to build things. I want to use my hands. But we got through that, and then I went off to university, and I went and did systems engineering at university. And if you get to this point and you want to go to university and you're looking at what do you want to do at university, I couldn't make up my mind. So I did a very broad subject called systems engineering, and it covers a little bit of everything. So electronics, mechanical, software, everything that you can imagine consists of engineering. I did a little bit of it. So there's a famous saying, which is "buck of all trades, master of none." I am very much like doing lots of different things. University, again, I'm not an academic, so university was quite stressful for me. I didn't maybe study as hard as I should, and make sure you study hard. But you will always come out okay at the end. No matter what happens, there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and you will always land on your feet eventually. So I didn't do particularly well at university. I didn't get the best grades. But when I came out of university, I had a little cry, because it was that stressful, and I really genuinely wanted to get out of there and go into the real world and do some engineering. So after that, I moved on to a company called Teledyne. I put my CV out there. I had no job lined up when I left university. I threw my CV out there, went for a bunch of interviews, and I landed at this company called Teledyne, where my real journey started after university and after academia and all of that, and getting out there in the world. And I went to all sorts of fun places, going out there, doing engineering, installing equipment, designing things. There is a great big world out there of places which need stuff built. Engineers go everywhere. If you want mobile phones somewhere, then you've got to install telecommunication towers in far-flung countries. And this was very similar for me. I was doing engineering in oil and gas, in the marine industry. And I went and built things in the middle of nowhere. And then after that, I got to where I am now, which is the National Oceanography Centre, where I build equipment for research and engineering, and I go out on research ships for multiple months at a time into the ocean to go study our oceans and kind of do that protecting our planet, looking at what's there, seeing how we're damaging it, seeing how we can repair it as an engineer. What can we do better? What engineering can I do to help save our planet from potentially the damage that we as humans are doing? And that's my career. And you'll get to ask us all questions at the end, but we're going to go through all three of our careers initially, and then we'll open up the floor to questions from all of you. So next up we have, let me just get to the slides. Okay, we've got sorry, it's Ben from Imperial College, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about his career now as well. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so hi. My name's Ben. I'm a bit less far on in my engineering career pathway to Matthew, but I sort of had a similar start in the sense that did GCSEs, the sort of compulsory foreign language you have to do. Went on, did A-levels in sort of maths, physics, and chemistry. Engineering wasn't a thing that was offered where I did my A-levels, but I did the sort of subjects that I found most interesting and most fun, which are sort of these practical subjects where you could look at something and sort of build an understanding of how it works. And I went on to university to do physics, which was really great fun. Really quite enjoyed it. I think sounds like I had a better time than Matthew, I think, because there were aspects of it that were really sort of enjoyable. I ended up building an engineering sort of apparatuses that could scan papyri in my final year to sort of take photographs of ancient bits of Egyptian paper, which was really great fun. Finished university without a plan really of what I was going to do next. So I sort of ended up traveling. I don't think the slides can be, I don't know if anyone can see the slides, but I sort of went traveling to get sort of time off to rethink and decide what I was going to do. Went around the world to sort of Moscow, which was really great fun, but was very horribly polluted, and the air pollution was really sort of oppressive, and it was really quite clear the impact for me that the climate was having. And as I sort of went around on this journey, places like China and places in Nepal, the air pollution was sort of, it really struck me the impact that we're having on the planet. So went on, there we go, sort of did a bit of Moscow, went around to China, and again, that was very sort of polluted, and then went down to Nepal, which was really great fun, but you couldn't see the mountains. You sort of had this image of Nepal with these lovely mountainscapes, but you just couldn't see it. It was just grey. And this isn't my photo in the bottom right. The other ones are my photos, but the grey, it was just sort of horrible and thick. So after that, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something in the climate, but I ended up going into software engineering, which is a different kind of engineering. So I ended up working for a company called Cisco, who sort of work on building the bits of computers that you don't really see, but that sit between your phone provider and the websites that you want. So whenever you make a phone call or open up your phone provider, open up your app or whatever, your phone speaks to the cell phone tower and all the signals. And in between you and YouTube sit these big computers. And so it was good to get, I sort of, having studied physics, this was sort of my route into engineering in the more practical sense of building the architecture and building the sort of the software that sits on these computers in the center. And so from there, with this sort of engineering aspect in mind and wanting to do something about the climate, I ended up doing what I'm doing today, which is sort of electrical engineering and systems engineering. So I look now at solar panels. So I look at these new types of solar panels, trying to address problems like how can we supply people around the world with clean drinking water? How can we supply them with electricity? And engineering and helping work out what systems work and what systems that people are designing are best, where they can be used the best, and how they'll perform on the ground, and helping sort of bridge the gap between the research that people do designing these things and the people who go and build them in the places where they're needed most. Yeah, and then this is just sort of my fun little bit of energy system engineering that I've done for myself, which is living on a boat. So these are sort of my own solar panels, trying to make engineering a small bit of difference to help the climate, even if it's not a large impact.
Thank you very much, Ben. Very interesting. I love how your travels have inspired you to go into what you get up to. Next up, we've got Bethany.
Hi everyone, I'm Bethany Hall. I'm a Senior Systems Integration Engineer at GKN Aerospace. And my story, I guess, is a little bit similar to Ben's in that my passion for traveling around the world has really inspired my career path. I don't think you can see the slides yet, but yeah, my first slide shows exactly that, my passion for traveling around the world. I love to travel, explore new cultures, try new foods, and see all of these amazing and colourful sights. But the more I've travelled over the last 10 years or so, the more I've started to realise how the impact that I have on the planet when I fly overseas. And so this passion to travel has really underpinned my mission as an engineer, which is to decarbonize aerospace. So if we go to the next slide, you can see my snapshot of my career on a page so far. So if I take you back to when I was at school, I went to an all-girls school where I was lucky enough to be offered to study an engineering diploma alongside my GCSEs. And I chose to do this for a couple of reasons. One, because my dad was an engineer. I had the role model. I also loved maths, so I am different to Matt in that I am quite an academic. I love maths, and I'm less about looking at things. How can I fix it? How can I build it? For me, it's more in the abstract sense in my head with the maths and also the people side of engineering. But yeah, I also, by studying this engineering diploma, I got to go to the local technical college after school. So it seemed like a bit of fun. And I'm so glad that I chose to do it because it introduced me to engineering and the team building that's required, the problem solving, and it introduced me to all the different types of engineering at such an early age. And doing this diploma, I got to go to a lecture up in London about the Bloodhound supersonic car. And I remember that was a really key defining moment for me because I heard the chief engineer of that project talking about all the different technologies and the different systems and the cross-disciplinary team that was working on that project trying to break the world land speed record through integrating those different components. And I was really like, you know what, that is what I want to do when I'm older. And fast forward to 10 years later, you'll see the box in the middle with the aircraft when I was working at Rolls-Royce on my graduate scheme. And I actually got to work on the world's fastest all-electric aircraft, which is arguably even cooler than the land speed world record. And that was a real pinch me moment because I essentially, manifested my career into reality. So then going back again to when I was at school, I got involved in lots of extracurricular challenges. We built an all-electric racing car and raced it against the other schools. I actually crashed it, but I didn't do too much damage. We also, sorry, if you just go back to my career on a page. I then after school I went on to study electrical and electronic engineering at Imperial College London, and this was amazing. I really enjoyed working with an international cohort of classmates, and my favorite part of studying was that I signed up to do some overseas engineering volunteering in a country called Honduras. And this really opened my eyes to the fact that I was studying electrical engineering, but I could use the skills that I was learning to improve people's lives. We built water pipeline systems and sanitary units to bring clean water to communities that had never had access to clean water before. So that really sort of sparked the trend of using my engineering skills to improve people's lives. After university, I took a gap year, went to 12 countries and took 33 flights. So as I said, this really sparked my mission to decarbonize aerospace. And I went on to do a graduate scheme at Rolls-Royce, where I did all sorts of roles in electric aircraft. I managed a team as engineering project manager of over 30 engineers, developing a more electric engine demonstrator. And I also then, following that, I worked on a UK government-funded project with 100 people from around the UK, working on a project called Fly Zero, which was looking at how can we decarbonise aerospace? What is the most efficient technology to do this? And one of the key technologies we looked at here was hydrogen. After that project, I moved to my current company, which is GKN Aerospace, where I work as a senior systems integration engineer on a project called H2 Gear. And this is a project that's developing hydrogen electric aircraft technology. So this is using liquid hydrogen, which powers hydrogen fuel cells through electrolysis, creating electrical power to propel the aircraft forward. So it's completely revolutionary technology that's going to decarbonize aerospace. And it's a really exciting place to be. So I just wanted to end with my final slide, which I think sums up why I believe engineering is such an amazing career to have, and essentially shows what my mission to change the world is. But essentially it starts with the fact that I believe that engineering is an amazing career choice to have if you want to protect the planet, because engineering has global responsibility at its core. And everything that we do as engineers, we need to be thinking about the impact that it has on the planet and on the people that our ideas affect. It's also a really creative career choice because, you know, we're the people that make the big, the bold, and the really bizarre ideas happen through innovation and through coming up with new ways to do things. It also is really important as engineers that we're inclusive, because the problems that the solutions that we come up with as engineers, they impact everyone on the planet. And so I believe that it's really important that we have people from all different backgrounds involved in engineering the solutions that impact people's lives. So I have a vision that we're going to come out the other side of the climate crisis with a much more diverse and inclusive workforce than we have today, of people that are really passionate about making the world a better place. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Sorry about the slides; they have a mind of their own. Okay, and we've got our last speaker, and then we'll go to questions. So we've got Steve. Do you want to take it away, Steve?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Stephen Ewers. I'm a project manager at Teledyne. I wanted to share my journey with you today about how I got involved in tackling climate change. If you could go to the next slide, please. Working in engineering and as an engineer is a dream career for me, much like everyone on this call. I love what I do, and I love working with really cool technology and interesting uses of it to help solve the big problems. I've gotten to work with some really creative people, travel the world and work on impactful, clean, green technologies through engineering. I started my career as an apprentice. So I studied engineering at GCSE level at school. It was a technical college. And then I knew I wanted to go through to college on my own. But I then applied for an apprenticeship. So I studied alongside working for 4 years, doing an advanced modern apprenticeship, working on the lathes and mills and creating and manufacturing parts for aerospace and defence. I then moved to a company called BAE Systems, and then BAE sponsored me to get my degree. So I studied alongside part-time again, alongside work, mechanical engineering, and it was a long 4 years, but it was well worth it, and it was a great career choice and a great subject to study. When I left BAE Systems, I went to a couple of different companies. I then went to a startup company from a large company. And the startup company for me was a huge culture shock. There was no processes in place. You're used to everything being in place in a large company, and then you get to be really creative and on the cutting edge of technology. So at the startup, I was part of the team that helped build, develop, test, and then deliver 15 UPS vehicles, converted from diesel to hybrid electric, and improving the air quality around the city centres where they're still running today. Following that, I've had a couple of other different startups. So one was an electrification of buses, and then I also worked at a hard hat, augmented hard hat startup company that was committed to reducing waste on build sites. So the hard hat had a head-up display in the visor, and it was augmented reality, so you could walk around the site and overlay the site projection on the ground, and walk around and inspect it within millimeter accuracy. All of this has led me to where I am today, which is, Matt, if you could go to the next slide, please. Working at Teledyne. So I now get to work with a team of really talented people, combining both my love of really cool technology and space. So I'm a huge sci-fi fan. So I'm working on a project called Trues, which is a spacecraft that will be launched in 2030, and it will help improve our models and projections of climate change. It does this by taking measurements of both incoming energy from the sun and reflected radiation from the Earth's surfaces, from its deserts, oceans, forests. And then the difference between those measurements is known as a climate driver. So my company are working with ESA, European Space Agency, and Airbus, and our sensors are on board, and our electronics are also on board. And they're an enabling technology of this space-based lab, and play a key role in giving us confidence in our climate data to inform policies going forward. That's it. Thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Steve. I think it's really important that you're here, actually, because we have 3 of us who went straight off from college to university, but you took a slightly different route to get there in the end. And I'm going to start my questions with you. There's one here about it, but why did you go for an apprenticeship and then take the route that you did to get into engineering?
I think it stems from helping. So my dad and my granddad were both in the industry. They were motor mechanics engineers, and I think it stems from helping them in the garage, doing weekend work with them and things like that, being very hands-on like yourself. And I think that's the route that I wanted to take as an apprenticeship. So gain the kind of hands-on skills as well as the academic skills a bit later.
Yeah, no, it's really good to have that opinion, because a lot of us are just driven straight to university. Yeah, you go to school, college, university, but there are other routes to it. If you're more hands-on rather than academic, or you don't feel that's the right route for you, do look for your other routes into engineering or mechanics, being hands-on. Next question. This one's for you, Bethany. So what made you want to become an engineer, and why does it get you up in the morning?
Yeah, I guess I kind of touched on what made me want to become one earlier. Like, part of it was because my dad was an engineer. I loved maths, and I just kind of fell into it, really. And what's interesting is that I guess initially I enjoyed engineering because of the teamwork side, the projects I got to do with my classmates. I enjoyed that. I then at university got really into the academics. Like, my master's dissertation was like really heavy linear algebra, like crazy intense maths. But now that I'm a practicing engineer, for me it's so much more about the people, about connecting all the different ideas between people. Like, as a systems integration engineer, I'm often the person that zooms out and says, okay, you're saying this and you're saying that, you need to talk to each other, and trying to make the way in which we do our engineering as efficient and as effective as possible. So all about good communication, being reminded of what our goals are, and yeah, I've really helped to sort of, I'm like the technical glue is what my role is described as. And so that's what I love about it. It's like every day the challenges that we're solving are different. But yeah, what gets me out of bed in the morning is that big macro mission of trying to decarbonize aerospace, so that I can keep traveling the world and feel a bit less guilty about it. But I think also with engineering, you can apply your skills to so many different challenges. So I know that my career is going to be really varied. Like one day I might be like, okay, I feel like I've worked in aerospace enough. I've like contributed to that, and now I'm going to work on a totally different challenge. But as long as it's got that impact that I'm passionate about, it would be an equally as good engineering challenge to solve.
I do like how you say the glue that sticks everything together. Being an engineer particularly can be quite sociable, because you've got all the different disciplines, all the different teams, and you've got to interleave between all of them and go talk to them, whether it's the electronics engineers, the mechanical ones, the software guys, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Next question. So Ben, I'm gonna address this one to you. So what is the best thing for you about being an engineer? It looks like it's heavily for improving your accommodation in your boat, but I'm sure you've got another answer to that.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good part of it. Definitely is the practical skills that come with boat living, all the sort of hands-on jobs that, from trying to fix your own plumbing and wiring to fitting and sizing your solar panels. It's sort of a good personal use of the skills. But I think I really enjoy the sort of wider use of the sort of the same things. So not only just sizing, working out how many solar panels I need, but working out what's the best sort of configuration and setup for solar panels for a village in northern India, or for a power plant that's going to be installed in Dubai, or maybe there's a sort of clean water production site for the Canary Islands, and looking at using the same skills that are very sort of practical and hands-on that you can sort of see in front of you, and then sort of using those in a sort of more abstract way to solve these problems that maybe you can't see. Maybe I'm not taking a flight to Abu Dhabi to look at the place where the power plant's going to be, but it's the same, knowing that what I'm doing is both practical, impactful, and also sort of helping to solve the climate crisis in a small little way.
Yeah, I guess that last piece on the small little way, nobody can solve it all. You've all got to do your little bit to help solve that climate crisis. I'm going to take one of these questions now. So somebody has asked, what kind of things have you made as engineers, and also what have you already created to help scientists? So some of the Steve has been talking about satellites. Bethany has been talking about the planes that she works on. Ben has been talking about his solar panels. Like we all, and renewable energy is what he kind of like works on. So that we're all very broad, but you can all see these quite large things and quite cool bits of engineering that we all work on. But we all do our little bit towards them. Myself, I work here at the National Oceanography Centre, and I work on submarines. So we build autonomous submarines. We send them out into the ocean. They go and complete science missions. So whether that's going to look at water quality metrics or going to image things. So we recently sent a submarine out to go look at lots of things which live in the mud in the North Sea. So everybody, when you think of the North Sea, you think of it brown and muddy, but there's lots of things living in that mud. So you send it and go and look at them, and then you collect all the images and you make sure the images are good, and then you pass them over to the scientists, and the scientists analyze those pictures and produce the report on the environmental nature. But I did my bit in the sense of I created the device which has taken the pictures so they can go do their science. So yeah, there was a couple of sessions earlier in the day, if you want to look back on them, where people have shown cool bits of engineering and stuff like that in a bit more detail. What question have we got next? So I'm going to address this to anybody who wants to answer it on our panel. So how are you certain that you can reduce pollution using engineering? I'm going to look at Ben for this one.
Yeah, I guess I can start. Yeah, I guess the engineering that I do in terms of solar panels, it's hopefully sort of, I feel it's quite a sort of not obvious one, but quite a clear-cut one where when I went to Nepal, for instance, a lot of the pollution in Nepal and the air pollution comes from people driving motorbikes in the city. It wasn't a sort of a problem 50 years ago because nobody had motorbikes and everyone walked or cycled, and now everyone has a motorbike. In order to try and fix this, we need to try and get the petrol out of the system, just in that case, for instance, and have everyone driving electric motorbikes, and using solar panels to power electric motorbikes, whether they're on people's apartment blocks or houses, or whether they're somewhere outside the center, like a petrol station, but for refilling an electric motorbike. I can really sort of see the impact it's going to have in reducing the air pollution there and hopefully clearing up the sky so people can actually want to go there again.
I'm just going to jump in there. I think it's a really good question because I think all of us can be quite certain that in a certain way, the solutions we're developing will reduce pollution or reduce the impact on the planet in a certain area. But what we need to always think about as engineers is there's something called the circular economy, where essentially we need to make sure that we think about the whole life cycle of components that go into engineering, and that by solving one problem, we don't end up like being more detrimental to the planet in a different way. So we might end up using materials that have got more embedded carbon. So we need to always be thinking and not have our blinkers on to the one area that we're reducing pollution, because we might end up making things worse in another way. So it's a big challenge that we have, but by constantly challenging ourselves to think about all the different areas of the circular economy, I think we will reduce pollution as a whole.
Thank you. So one last question, and it's going to go out to all of us. So there's lots of questions on age and when you made decisions in for your career. So I'm going to go through each of us individually. I'm going to start, and I'm going to go like, I always knew I liked engineering. I never knew what type of engineering I wanted to go into. So hence why I'm a systems engineer, because it's very broad. But I knew that from quite a young age. And I know that is quite a novelty to know what you want to do. So don't feel put out if you don't know what you want to do in life yet. It is a hard thing to work out. It comes easier to sum up some than some others. Steve, do you want to chip in?
Sure, yeah. So like you, I think I always had an inclination, like an interest in building things and playing with Lego as a kid and things like that. So I always was mechanically minded, but I had no idea where my career would take me. So I've never been one to kind of have a career plan and follow it. It's just what looks interesting, cool applications of technology, and mostly it's about the people we work with. I think.
Awesome. Bethany?
Yeah, I've had so many different light bulb moments throughout. I mean, the first one was when I was 16 and I was introduced to the engineering diploma. But even as recently as last year, when I started doing this systems integration role, I was like, okay, finally, I feel like I found the perfect engineering role for me that I didn't even know existed when I started. So I would say, yeah, those light bulb moments, they're going to keep on coming, for sure.
Awesome. And Steve? Oh, sorry, not Steve, Ben. Apologies.
Yeah, I think I still don't know whether it's what I want to do. I think I've ended up always doing the thing at the time that felt most natural and most interesting and where I felt I could make a difference. And I'm fairly sure that in 4 years' time, I'll have a different idea about what that will be. And in 8 years' time, it'll be a completely different idea. So I think not having a plan and still not having a plan is fine. You don't need to sort of ever know what you want to do, so long as you're sort of vaguely enjoying it as you go along.
I think that's a great note to finish on. Like we all want to change what we do every so often. You can get bored of things. You can have have a mission at one point and then decide to do something else. So never feel like you have to be stuck or pigeonholed into one particular corner. You can always change your mind later on. And on that note, our time is up, I'm afraid. So thank you very much to our speakers, and thank you very much to Pop for hosting us. We've all really enjoyed trying to impart some sort of career knowledge onto you all, and I hope this has helped. Yeah, truly. Thank you very much, and we'll leave you for your next session.